Well, thank you, Calvin. That was fascinating. Let's take a little bit of time for questions. Does somebody have a question for Calvin?
I have one.
Carol Scholl does.
Calvin, that is inspiring. I hope that you all have found a way to share what you've done with other tribes, because I think it's just an amazingly inspiring and copyable thing that other tribes ought to consider doing. So my hat's off to you. But what I wanted to ask was, do you need to do more cultural resources survey, and can the foundation help get that done outside of what's being done for compliance purposes? You know, I know others will fund some of that compliance driven survey. Will you be doing some of your own surveys to identify more cultural resources?
Yes, we do cultural surveys primarily during the seasonal summer months, and we're always people are always finding things every year, seems like, and we continue to do this. But as I said, much of them are threatened by this development. You see oil development and coal development, but this oil development is the big thing right now, and it's somewhat difficult for our small staff to keep up with it. But we have a good relationship with local area archaeological firms, and they're required to hire us to be monitors with them, so we keep track of it. And this past summer I was involved with an oil company. Archaeological firm was hired by an oil company, and we found a significant bison rendering site, and that I guess yielded up to, I remember right, about 50,000 different cultural artifacts. I was on site several times throughout the summer, but it took some time. But it was a mitigation process, and unfortunately, it was right in the track of an access road to a well pad. So the site was studied, and we discussed it. Elgin reviewed it, and he was out there several times, and we decided to cover the area up and I guess basically bury that site, and then the oil company can build a road over the berm that is covering up. That's how we decided to mitigate that. But it was significantly studied, and that's just the way we have to deal with it. It was on tribal land. It was on a private tribal member's land, and he wanted to enjoy the fruits, I guess, of the oil development, which is his right, of course. And that is basically what boils down to anywhere and everywhere. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and even though those may have been our coal beds in the past, we have very little say to do how, or to say how we can do it. So it was an opportunity that Elgin had to fall back on, I guess.
I have a question.
Okay.
How many acres or square miles are open to the strip mining development at this point that are tribal land or reservation land?
None right now. There was, I remember in the past, in the 70s, I can just vaguely remember that the coal mining companies wanted to come on the reservation. I guess some of this coal is under the reservation, but the tribal council at the time shot it down, and so they stayed on the south side of the lake. But I believe there's some coal underneath the north side, and in fact, just east of the reservation, there's a strip mined area that we drive by that's next to Highway 83 that has been reclaimed. So we can see, you know, how these things are reclaimed. And it takes a lot of time. But to my knowledge, there is no development of any major coal company on tribal lands.
So the monies going into the Cultural Education Foundation are coming from gas and oil development?
They're coming from the mining company. And that's not to exclude the archaeological firms. They're still going to do the excavation, but this is in addition. This foundation was created in addition to the archaeological work, so there'll still be archaeological work done. These all coal mining companies, they plan their strip mining activities, I'd say, decades in advance. And I've seen their maps where they plan to take the land up, and you know, there's one for 2040, 2050, all the way up to. It's going to be a long time. So, like I said, or like I said before, this was like 17,000 acres. That's quite a bit of acreage.
I have a question. Excuse me, Calvin. John Mark Joseph from over here in Guam. It's early morning for me. But to go back to the bison site that you mentioned that they put the road over, and I hate to go into archaeology, complete data recovery, or did you leave part of the site and then have it monitored and pressure tested over time?
Yeah, I believe it was done, and the entire area was not taken up. Just sporadic meter square tests were done, and those were in areas that were believed to have concentration. And I was there at least weekly and looked at what they found. They found a lot of bison material, bones. They found a lot of flint material, because this area is just south of our newly minted national landmark, the flint beds near Mr. Lynch's place. That's only probably maybe 10 miles away, less than that. So this area is in the Badlands area. In fact, it was on one of my hunting grounds. I used to hunt there just maybe 5 years earlier or so. And it was pretty inaccessible at that time, but now it isn't. It's got all these access roads on there, and they're getting to the oil. And so I believe all that was done. There was the testing, the pressure testing, and like I said, they didn't tear up the entire area. They just did tests of meter square digs, and where they thought that there might be some concentration. There was some of that radiometry done to determine where the spots were that had the most material, and based on that, that's how they decided where they wanted to dig.
I have a question for Mr. Grinnell.
Yes.
This is Courtney Coyle from down in San Diego area, and we've been able to get some land repatriated to the tribes and set up some funds, but it really hasn't been done through the agency requiring it during a project, but more after the tribes that I represent having to sue about the lack of mitigation. So I guess my question for you, sir, is number one, these plans that you've come up with, have these been private things that your tribe and the developers have worked on together, or have the agencies required the developers to have to do some mitigation, and this was one form that they approved of? And the second question is, how did you come up with the number, the dollar figure? Was there a criteria, or how did that work? Because that's one of the issues that we tend to struggle with here, is coming up with a good number. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, the coal company, Coteau Mine, the Freedom Mine, from what I understand, I asked Elgin, I'm not entirely sure about this or how this comes about, but apparently the coal is federal coal, and for that reason they have to go into the Federal Register. I mean, they have to make announcements to the Federal Register that they're going to do this excavation or do these strip minings. And when they wanted to contact the tribes, I believe there were 17 or 19 tribes that possibly had some experiences on this ancestrally in the past. Our three tribes were the center or the hub of a vast trade network. So always, there was people coming and going, visiting our tribes. So for that reason, there was a lot of traffic over this country. But again, it was our ancestral homelands. So for that reason, this area was set aside for us. But like I said, it was federal funds, I guess, managed through BLM and so forth. So they wanted to make sure that consultation was done with the tribes. And apparently, according to Elgin, they had the meetings. The two men that met with us, Jim Melchior and Joe Friedlander, met with Elgin. See, this was before my time. I only been here since 15 years or so, since 2001. They started in 1998, I believe. And the other tribes that were in attendance apparently walked out. So Elgin made a claim based on Aboriginal territory, and that's how it came to be. But as far as the dollar amount, I don't know how that was determined. I think that was determined by the coal company, and that I suppose was based upon the acreage, and I don't know how that breaks down 17,000 into 626,000, but it's a good sum, and it is, again, it has the interest, and we do not, the principal is held by the state school land boards, and we only have access to the interest, which apparently is only about $20,000 a year. And from that, we can issue grants or scholarships, or eventually develop the plans for future. And we're just now getting off the ground. We're going to have our second meeting here pretty soon. Our first meeting was held a year or so ago, but we're now just trying to let it gain interest and all that. But was that the answer to your question, or is there any other parts that I missed?
No, that was helpful. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Calvin, I have a question for you. I'm intrigued by the 26 tribes that walked out on that consultation. So did they ever get any benefit of any mitigation?
I guess not. I don't know. They kind of washed their hands of it, I guess, according to Elgin. Like I said, I wasn't at this particular meeting. This was like probably 1998 or 99, 2000, I'm not sure. But just they closed their books and walked out, is what he told me.
Oh, interesting. Well, Calvin, thank you so much. We better move on.